Welcome to another edition of Inside Medicine. I'm your host, Doug Geinzer, and we are here in the studio today with Glenn Truitt, David Housey from Ideal Business Partners. We're going to talk a little bit about the business of medicine. For those of you that are new to the show, we broadcast live here in the studio every single Friday at 10 o'clock in the morning, and we bring in guests to the show that talk about things such as innovation in healthcare, medical education, medical developments, medical tourism, and just folks that are doing things to improve the quality of health right here in Southern Nevada in keeping with the mission of Las Vegas Heals. In the studio today, again, we've got Glenn Truitt and David Housey. Welcome to the studio, guys.
Thanks, Doug.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, so we're anxious to hear and learn a little bit more about Ideal Business Partners. It seems like a unique business bringing together both the finance, accounting side of the house as well as health law. So if one of you wants to start, just give us a high level of Ideal Business Partners and what that looks like.
Sure. Well, we are a multidisciplinary professional practice that specializes in healthcare. I'm a healthcare attorney. I've been one for 12 years. And my partner, David, is a finance specialist. We have a little trouble always describing what it is that David does. It's sort of a mixture of sort of professional banking, financial management, sort of development of models, and he sits above your accountant basically. But important to healthcare. Exactly.
At the end of the day, it's critical to healthcare.
Exactly. And then the combination of those is sort of the strategy element. We bring those together, take them out of their silos, and then work together to develop strategies for healthcare business owners to be successful.
Yeah, and do you guys focus on just like the small business, the medium-sized business? What's that range?
I would say we mostly avoid the institutional, so no hospital business really. They usually have their own in-house attorneys or their large national networks. So from your large group practices down to your solo practitioner and some of the ancillary healthcare businesses like medical spas or other sort of healthcare adjacent businesses as well, medical billing and things that you wouldn't think of as like medical, because like Heals, we'd rather be inclusive than exclusive when it comes to who we're servicing. The healthcare ecosystem has grown quite wide, and we want to be able to service all those businesses because they really do work together to make healthcare successful in the market.
Cool. So David, you're a CPA by trade. Tell us a little bit about that.
I am. I was in public accounting back in the early 90s, and I've since worked in commercial banking, investment banking, equity research, and I've been the president of a public company in consumer goods, as well as a COO and CFO of an IT company. And now I'm specializing with Glenn in healthcare because at the end of the day, medical businesses are businesses. And although there's some peculiarities with healthcare businesses, the basic structure of the business is the same.
So is it fair to say that the business thought process is many times missing from the business of healthcare?
Yes, as it is with other entrepreneurs. So,
sure.
Small single practitioners and small group practices, and even to the ASCs, and we worked with the largest private ASC in the city, are very entrepreneurial, and they have, people come and they're excellent at their technical skill, but they're not good at managing the business that does that technical skill.
So behind the scenes, you guys kind of provide that infrastructure in terms of the accounting finance side, and Glenn providing some legal counsel and guidance to their legal matters.
Exactly. I think a lot of people misunderstand what healthcare lawyers really do, and they think of us as malpractice. So that's what people think about when they think about doctors and the law. And obviously that is an important element of the healthcare practice, but we don't litigate, and we believe that litigation is sort of a last resort. Although, when you need it, it's good to have somebody, and we certainly have people that we work with and trust. But the reality is, just like doctors preach that an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, the exact same thing is true when it comes to your compliance and your other legal efforts, paperwork and documentation, and structuring your practices. And when practices come together, when they get bought and sold, when you exit, even hiring key individuals, all these things are legal maneuvers, none of which involve a courthouse, and all of which should include an attorney. So teaching the community how to access our service is really a large part of what we do on a day-to-day basis, and a large part of why we've decided to associate with Las Vegas Heals is that it's about education, and without education, there can be no success. So we're excited to be a part of the Heals family, and excited to continue to educate doctors and proprietors of healthcare businesses what they didn't learn in medical school or their professional schooling, and that's how to actually run their business in a successful way and all the way to retirement.
So you've been in health law. How did you get into health law? How does one step into that arena?
Well, I always say that the no healthcare lawyers come out of law school, and for that matter, very few transactional lawyers come out of law school. So you don't find your practice finds you. As I worked for a large law firm down in Los Angeles, I found myself with pharmacy clients and other healthcare related clients, and I really enjoyed helping them navigate the very perilous sort of regulatory minefield that surrounded their business for successful transactions. And I really enjoyed that. And so if you would have told me in law school that I would be a healthcare attorney, I would have laughed you out of the room. But I came to really enjoy the practice, and it's very much a problem solving and creative enterprise to work in healthcare. And that suits my skill set from my undergraduate degree in mathematics to my military experience. All these are sort of creative, making the best of your resources and working with highly skilled individuals. All those things really matched into a healthcare practice and working with owning physicians. So, and I've really enjoyed it. And I've seen all different sides from in-house and now servicing with a boutique. I really enjoy working with physicians and healthcare business owners because although they want to make money, they're serving the community in a way that really no one else can, and we take it for granted what a robust healthcare community means for us. But we're a pretty healthy community, and I think we have the local healthcare community to ask to thank for that, because a lot of communities, you go back east in the Midwest, they're not healthy communities. You walk around Las Vegas, it's a pretty healthy looking community, and our life expectancy is higher than average. And people think of Las Vegas as a certain thing, and it is that thing in a lot of ways. But in a lot of ways, this is a robust and healthy and family based community that revolves around wellness and health in a way that a lot of other communities do not. So I'm grateful to work with the community and grateful to work with to be a healthcare attorney in a place where there aren't that many, because we really are doing good.
Yeah, healthcare seems to be thriving in Las Vegas. We've had a lot of growth over the last couple of years, obviously with the expansion of graduate medical education, bringing on the UNLV School of Medicine. Gosh, we're building a hospital every couple of years. There's just a lot going on in town.
Yeah, I would like to say we were healthcare before healthcare was cool. I think that's always the case when the market turns towards something, and the stakeholders that are already there. And we see a lot of interest now. That we've had a lot of inquiries from attorneys trying to come into the space. I think there are 5,800 doctors in Southern Nevada, or 5,000 in Southern Nevada, 4,000 in Southern Nevada. We can't possibly service them all with our boutique. Sure. And so I'm hopeful that the legal community will begin to understand the needs of the healthcare community and begin to serve them robustly. Because although I'm happy to work at the pace we're working, we certainly can't service them all.
Yeah. Healthcare is obviously unique. So, David, you've been a CPA 14, 15 years. What brought you into healthcare? It's not something that you just stumble upon. You've worked in public companies, IT companies, service-based companies, consumer-based companies. Why healthcare?
Yeah, well, that's true. I've worked in a lot of verticals, and mostly because I partnered with Glenn. And the peculiarities of healthcare are a lot more robust on the legal and compliance side than they are on the finance side. But there certainly are some. One of the main concerns, one of the main issues you'd work at as a CFO in a different kind of company is product pricing. And for the most part, the insurance reimbursements are set, and you don't get to set your price. So you have to work that equation from a different direction to find out, what the capacity is, the utilization, and how to make the most of your space, make the most of your staff. But yeah, I'm in it because it's a robust industry. And it's good. And like Glenn was saying, it's nice to serve doctors who serve the community and provide a societal good. But the doctors can't do that if they don't have success in their own practices, if they're busy remediating.
You touched on a huge topic for Las Vegas Heals, and that's reimbursements. It's an area that we're taking on this year in a very, very big way. I think we're getting support. Obviously, the mayor, Mayor Goodman, brought that up in her State of the City address, how important Medicaid reimbursements are, just because our doctors just are not getting paid enough. We've got some primary care guys that are struggling to make ends meet. And so a lot of us started focusing on the cost side of the equation. And, what are those expenses? What do they look like? And how do we tackle that? Because if we could reduce that expense, that dollar drops quicker to the doctor's pocket than increasing the revenue side of the house, where they're getting these reimbursements that many times don't even cover the cost. Mm-hmm. So talk to us a little bit about how you work with the practices. Obviously, bringing in a CPA and a deep financial background, when you sit down with a practice, what do you tackle first? What do you look at?
Goals. The first thing is we look at is goals. So brand is first. What are you trying to accomplish? Who are you? What is your culture? How do you present yourself to your patients, to your staff, and to the community. So that's one thing that can't be violated. So it's brand goals, data process, and reporting. And then we get into, more granular stuff. Reports exactly is, almost all financial reporting and medical practices is terrible. Just terrible. They don't get what they need. And, there's two ways to use financial reports. One is for compliance. Yeah, you can use it to prepare a tax return at the end of the year. And the other is managerial. And managerial is reports that help you make decisions. And that's what they don't have. And so they have to wing it, and they have to go by feel. And, we say science first, art second. You do the math, then you make your decision. And so we go in, we start, with the chart of accounts and the way that the statements are built. And after you have good data, then you can move further down to, capacity, utilization. And sometimes the practice just doesn't make sense with a single provider. And sometimes it needs more providers. Sometimes it needs more exam rooms or procedure rooms. And sometimes, we talk about outsourcing billing. It's like, does it make sense to have it in-house or have it out of the house? And sometimes, you might take the place that your billing staff is working in, you can put 2 more procedures rooms and maybe even have another provider. So it's making the most of the infrastructure that you have, and then considering whether or not you need to increase or change your infrastructure.
So if you had to look back, what is the single largest challenge or the single largest issue that a practice faces that you're able to tackle? We always look up and we go, there's that one route. If I could get to that and fix that, what is that one challenge?
How the doctor spends his day or her day.
Yeah.
That's the first thing. It's one of the principal tenets from Peter Drucker is, know your time and how you spend it and where money is made. We tell our doctors that, you're going to make more money in the boardroom than you will in the operating room. Getting out of the business and working on the business instead of in the business. So it's really, it's the entrepreneur's time, the physician's time, what they do and how they do it.
Yep. So when you discover that they need to build their practice a little bit different, is that when you come in, Glenn, that you say, hey, let me help you out with some of that structuring?
It is in a lot of ways that just kind of reinforcing to the idea that they can do a lot more than they think they can do. I think that there's a conservatism that pervades when and it can feel like it's like you're up against the world as a physician, especially if you're in a solo practice. And there are slings and arrows coming from all directions. Regulatory agencies, the market in general, your patients, and just understanding that you're not in as small of a box as you think. Just because you've seen it done a certain way or you've seen it done a certain way all around you doesn't mean that you're constricted by that. The beauty of healthcare is that although it is a very highly regulated space and maybe the most highly regulated space in American industry, there's a great deal of creativity available to you if you just work with the right people and open your mind to what's possible. And I think we help them understand that we can help you do the things you think are difficult or impossible and do them in a legal way and open their mind to what they could create. And once you give them that ability to sort of create and think about what they really want to accomplish with their practice, then comes the work of making sure that it's legal, because there are tentpole regulations that govern healthcare that are very serious and have extraordinary implications and very high stakes. So once the creative work is done, then comes the work to build it in a way that's compliant, so that you build something great and it doesn't get torn down the next day when you get your first audit. So a lot of what we do is to evaluate, get the idea, talk about goals. What do you want to accomplish? Plan it out, then make sure we can do it. And then it goes back to David's side of the house. And I always say I'm the can you and David's the should you. And usually the should you is a lot sexier than the can you. We'll get through the black letter law. We'll have a plan and a structure, and we'll make a diagram. We'll explain how it works. But then the question is, am I going to make any money? And am I going to make what I expect to make with this? Or am I going to just break even? Sometimes an idea that feels very good and you think is going to be very profitable for you, turns out it's going to break you even because of the costs that you didn't think about that are involved. And maybe it doesn't, you don't get as much economy of scale with your current practice of what you added on. And David's, the unique thing about working with a guy like David is that I can actually answer that question in-house. Yes, you can, but no, you shouldn't. And then let's move, or maybe how could we tweak this so that you should? And having access to those levers really dramatically increases the chances of success with anything that a doctor wants to do.
Yep. So I'm going to ask you kind of the same pointed question I asked David. What is the single largest health law challenge that gets dropped on your desk every single day, besides MedMal, and I'm sure you don't do litigation. But, what's the one thing that you go, wow, this is the area that if I had to tackle inside of every single practice, this is the first place that I go?
Yeah, I wish it were more fantastically complex than this, but I think it's cybersecurity. I think there's I had a doctor tell me, Glenn, I've never even heard of anybody that's had this problem, as though a physician's peer group would be enough to say it's not going to happen to anyone. It's the same sort of thing that physicians always cringe at when they say, well, I don't know anybody that's got cancer. I don't know anybody this has happened to. Therefore, I see no risk. So telling them, look, 88% of the targets of ransomware are healthcare businesses. Your value, your healthcare information is worth 10 times what your credit card information is worth, and your system is woefully outdated. And almost, physicians hate spending money on IT, which I understand because no one likes to spend money on IT. It just seems physicians really don't like it, and so trying to convince them that they have a real and appreciable risk, because they get the risk of malpractice. They really understand that because they can insure it, and they get the risk of non-compliance. They don't always understand the risk of cybersecurity and what it means to them. And I think, if I could impress upon them how grave the concern is and how high the stakes are, because I can save you from a letter from OSHA, I can save you from a letter from CMS, I can save you from from an audit, but that cybersecurity risk, that's oftentimes fatal. It's a single fatal blow to your business, and very little that I can do after the fact can bring that back. And so a lot of times prevention is nicer than cure, and I'm happy to do both. Oftentimes with cybersecurity, there is no viable cure. It's just, it's post-mortem. We're just burying your business peacefully. So that's really the thing, is that cybersecurity has become a more robust threat much more quickly than we could have imagined, and healthcare has become far and away the biggest and juiciest target for cyber criminals. And so I think, it's not necessarily sexy to talk about, but that is probably the number one thing from the law side.
David, it looks like you got something to contribute there.
Glenn brings up a good point, is risk, generally risk. So we work a lot with our clients on exit planning and building enterprise value, because, that's what, business owners work for, is an exit, and that's their main asset. And there's three components of building enterprise value, and that's growth, returns, and risk. And the risk part is probably the most overlooked part of that. And as you can have a very profitable practice with a great, growth history and growth trajectory, but the risk that it all gets shut down by, a regulator or, a cyber hacker or something like that is very great, or lose your employees. I mean, risk comes in many flavors. But that's a huge issue that really contributes to a depression of enterprise value and the possibility of exiting at all. And we see a lot of doctors just ended up closing their doors and, taking their, especially the PI guys, the personal injury guys with their liens, and just retiring on the book of liens that they have. And it's a tragedy.
Yeah, it's bad. So let's take a deeper dive on Ideal Business Partners. Mm-hmm. It's a unique structure. I don't know if I've ever seen anything like it before. How did you come up with the idea? What does it look like? Tell us a little bit about the organization and really the why. How did it come together?
Well, when I first invited David to partner with me, I wrote up a manifesto of what I thought the practice should look like, and why I wanted to come together with a quantitative expert like David. And I always felt there was, when I would counsel my healthcare clients, there was something missing in what I call it the quant, which is sort of the valuing everything and putting the numbers in, because it's all well and good to have a great document, but if the numbers are wrong, then they're wrong. And the best I could do was guess. And I was very frustrated with trying to partner in a sort of a arm's length way with accountants. There was always this odd, inexplicable conflict between lawyers and accountants. There shouldn't be a conflict there. They're not on opposite sides of any appreciably identifiable issue. They're just competitive for business in general. And so I thought, what if we could put an accountant across the hall from a healthcare attorney? What if we could find some level of symbiosis with our two professional practices, and how that might look for physicians? And then I, coming from the Bay Area for law school, and really appreciating that creative environment that Google and Apple and Yahoo and similar companies have created, Zynga, visited all those campuses as a law student and really thought, if I get a chance to build a law firm, this is how I want to do it. I want there to be whiteboards everywhere, there's footballs and soccer balls, and there's no mahogany anywhere in sight. And so you come to the spaces, and as you've been, there's an air hockey table, there's a game room, there are no wood paneling anywhere. It's creative. There are whiteboards in every space. I mandated that pretty early on, and you often find us in together in groups, meeting and discussing or think tanking ideas. And that's not what you see normally. A law firm is a lot of closed doors and lawyers by themselves, and paralegals and other assistants attending to them as needed. And it's not like that at all. The workflow is very communal. It's very open. We spend I like to say that no law gets practiced with the door closed. The law gets practiced with the door open, and then when the door closes, when you have to do sort of the paper it up and actually lawyer it up. But the real work gets done in groups. And so it's collaborative, much in the same way the HEALS organization is. In your spaces, it's open. Doors are open. People are communicating ideas. That's how great things get done. We feel the same way about our professional practice. And so I think, it's become much more of a tech company feel, even though it is still a professional practice, and the stakes are quite high. And all the people in there are highly qualified, highly energetic, super motivated people. I've had my associates tell me, although I did no exercise, at the end of the day, I'm exhausted because I just thought so hard today. I thought so hard about all this stuff, and I just want to go home and watch network television, which is no knock on network television, but you can switch off for that. So really a chance to watch smart people engage their intellect in a meaningful way. It's a pretty cool place to hang out. And I will say to doctors who normally hate going to their law office, and I totally get that because I hate going to my lawyer's office, but they find that they spend quite a bit more time down at the office and they enjoy it more than us meeting in their office, even though we're happy to do that because it's a space where they can be creative, where they can be listened to, where they can have an intelligent discussion that's really not accessible in a lot of other spaces that they work in. Oftentimes they're on an island and they're dictating, and no one's helping them. No one's giving them ideas and feedback. And so it's really it's a pretty cool space to see sort of these think tanks, professional think tanks happen in. And I see deep down, always wanted to be a part of a think tank when I was a kid. Like that's the best job in the world. Like you can just join a think tank and that's your actual job. So that's kind of what we've created. And I think that, I would encourage anybody to come down that's thinking about a problem or have a concern, come down, spend an hour with us on the house. And let's talk about it.
Yeah, your office is very Zappo-ish. Yes. When I went there the first time, big beanbag chairs everywhere. And
we just don't offer tours yet.
No tours yet, no.
And we share the same conference room table. That's what I admired.
That's right.
Yeah, that round table, lots of work gets done there.
Well, yeah. Well, putting people in an environment in those, it seems simple, but those psychologically, putting people in circles rather than in lines, and it's not pedagogical. It's communal. It's about sharing ideas, and you get up on the board and you put something on there in the whiteboard, and then you sit down and someone adds to it, and a lot of times you leave the room with a very different idea and answer than you came in the room with. And we've done that. I've lost count of how many times we've done that. Come in the room thinking I'm here to validate what I think, and then I leave the room with a not only just a different idea, but a complete 180. Like we were going to tell a client to buy a building, and we left an hour and a half later with absolutely convinced they shouldn't buy the building. And that to me is evidence of what happens in the room. And I think that's a cool experience for anybody, even for the people that work there. I enjoy it a great deal, but I think for clients that come in, it's so new to them. They just didn't know that was even available. Like they could even have access to a think tank at their business.
It really is think tank. Yeah, I just want to follow up on that. It's like a lot of times we have a lot of aha moments with clients where, we're knocking it around. They're, critical participants in the discussion, and there'll just be a moment where they're like, I get it. Yep. Okay. And then, or it might just be their idea. They pick up on what's going around, and that's the dynamism of the sharing of the ideas.
And that's where the name comes from. The Ideal Business Partners is that you come in and you're a part of it. This is a partnership maneuver. It's not a concierge service where you drop your problem off in an envelope and then come back 2 days later and it's all fixed and here you go. It's participation, and the more participation we get from the principal and the physician, the better the outcomes are, and they find that they get more out of it. We don't let them black box us. We don't let them say, my lawyer does that, I don't know anything about. That's if you read the E-Myth, that's abdication, not delegation. That's giving it to someone and never looking at it again. Is not a way you lead. It's not successful. It's not healthy. So our clients become pretty conversant in the law and pretty conversant in finance after working with us. And they're much more confident in their own business and negotiations and don't need us to hold their hand very often, because after a certain amount of time working with us, they've picked up the key elements and they're very capable of handling minor sort of, conflict resolution or problem solving without having us having to be there, because we've given them the tools to understand what to do, and even when they if they can't, they know when it's time to call us, and they know what we're going to do and how long it's going to take. And so all that uncertainty and anxiety that normally accompanies working with professionals is totally gone, and they're quite comfortable, I think. And I think it's if you were to come in and see it, and you see our clients come in, it doesn't feel like sort of the dentist office feel. We love our dentist, but the dentist office feel coming to your lawyer like, I'm here, I had a 10 o'clock appointment, how quick can I get out of here? That's sort of like begrudging, I have to be here thing is completely gone from our office, and they're like, okay, let's get to it. And they're no, I don't need any coffee, I'm good. And I think it's more fun for me, I think, to not have someone always meet me with that sense of foreboding. What awful thing am I going to have to listen to today at my lawyer's office?
Yeah, well, we're there to talk about their business, so it's it's a topic. It's it should be their favorite topic or close to the favorite topic.
It's a king holding court, where they sit at the head of the table, and it's like a cabinet. The president and the cabinet. We sit down the table, and we have an agenda and presentation, and we're working through a problem, and they're really directing it like a conductor. They're not playing an instrument, but they're in charge of the band, and they really enjoy that feeling because they don't get that at their office. They have a team of professionals but there's people that are working in their business, not on their business, and where else can they get a team to work on their business? And it's really one of the few places it happens is in our offices, and it's refreshing for them.
That's big. I want to touch on two more points because we're getting down to the bottom of the half hour. So it looks like we're going to have to do another show specifically on the educational series, which is what we wanted to talk about, but don't have a lot of time. So let's talk on this. Tell me a little bit about the practice. How many people are over there? You've got a bunch of attorneys. You've got a doctor on staff.
We do.
So tell us a little bit about that.
We've got 5 lawyers, 2 paralegals, and 1 physician. One of our clients liked us so much that he joined the practice as a consulting physician. Dr. Stephen Cosmary was one of my first clients in Las Vegas, and who truthfully didn't want to work with a lawyer at all when I met him. And now he has an office in my office. And I think the Medici Effect, which is a very popular book, and it's one of the books we give out during our series, but it talks about sort of the value of bringing people from disparate backgrounds and sort of educational and social and cultural backgrounds together to create new ideas, and having a doctor always present is very helpful for us to make sure we're always vetting things against our clients. He represents in a lot of ways our clients' viewpoints and how they think about things, and he can say, hey, hold up guys, like doctors don't know this word, so where we say malfeasance all the time, he's like, doctors don't know this word, so we back that out. So that's sometimes we're with as many lawyers as we have, we forget that we don't all speak the same language because we speak it to one another, and having a doctor to say, hold up, because there's plenty of language that doctors speak that we don't, and they're happy to dumb that down for the professionals. Like, no, I don't know what that. There are a lot of words, and we do the same with him, and having. Again, and we have a law clerk who's taking the bar this next month in February, who's got a PhD and a master's in oncology and drug design, and having that on staff, and we've got people from a bankruptcy background, bankruptcy practice, and oil and gas practice, and different law schools in different parts of the country, and way different undergraduate backgrounds, and everybody comes together in this sort of soup of very sort of just wildly disparate backgrounds to create a very unique environment.
So we're definitely going to have another show because we did not touch on the educational series, which is big.
Yes, it's huge.
So at a high level, we've got like 2 minutes.
Okay.
Tell us a little bit about the educational series, and then after that, if you could let our audience know how to get in contact with you. And on the next show, which we will do, we'll talk a little bit more about the syllabus, the program that's going to happen, and we'll actually have a calendar that we could present to everybody. So give us a high level of this educational series.
Right. we came with to develop the Executive Healthcare MBA, which is right now a 12-topic biweekly course to teach doctors how to run their businesses, from the finance part, which is an enterprise value, down to HIPAA and Stark and kickback compliance. A 30-minute seminar followed by a 30-minute live Q&A, a small group direct Q&A with the presenting professional, and it's an extraordinary opportunity to get business education through your Las Vegas Heals membership to really get something valuable out of it. And we're excited to partner with your group, Doug, and to present that in the coming weeks.
So let's plan on getting you back on the show in a couple weeks. Let's lay that whole program out so our audience can learn a little bit about that. In the meantime, we need to wrap up the show. I want to thank everybody for joining us here on Inside Medicine and another wonderful episode with the folks from Ideal Business Partners. Tune back in the next couple weeks, and we will have Glenn and David back on the show to tell us a little bit about this Lunch and Learn series and how you can help build your practice and learn a little bit more about doing the business of medicine. Again, thank you for joining us today.